Hi, I'm Raghavendra, Sales Director APAC from TechPlus Media. A warm welcome to you all for our Marketing Mondays chat. And it's been a wonderful experience in hosting so many Marketing Mondays chat with marketing leaders. Though experience is something which everyone feels and talks about in many contexts. So today in our chat, we'll discuss about customer experience is the new marketing. And we have with us Mr. GovindaRaj, Head of Customer Experience Excellence at Vodafone Idea, to share his expertise and experience in CX. A warm welcome to you, Mr. GovindaRaj.
Thanks, Raghavendra, and what an honor to be on the Marketing Monday show. I've seen a set of experts come before me and share their wealth of experience and expertise. I'm really glad to be here.
Thank you. So let's start our conversation with how the perception of marketing shifted in recent years, and with customer experience taking a more prominent role. How do you see it?
Yeah, I think I have to borrow a cliche, right? As they say, it's the experience economy. And where I think some of the traditional differentiators that we all know of in marketing, be it a product or a brand, they are a sources of differentiation. But given the way the customer preferences are changing, given the way they engage with the product or a brand is changing, to earn loyalty or to earn a repeat customer, as they say, I think experience has come to the forefront. And hence, I think from a source of sustainable differentiation, customer experience is now probably at the top, I would say. And it cuts across from B2B brands as well as B2C brands. I think there is also a crossover of some of the behaviors of consumers into the B2B, and probably we'll talk about it as we go further. And hence, I think from a chief marketing officer's perspective or company's perspective, to put really customer at the center of how they design products and how they take decisions is now becoming more and more important than before.
That's really, you nailed it. Customer experience is something which has taken a very huge shape in post-pandemic, I would say. And across B2B, B2C, from startup to small, medium, and it's been the main focus nowadays. And what are the challenges do the enterprise commonly face when they're trying to enhance their customer experience? And how do B2B marketers address these challenges?
Yeah, I think it's just, I would have been happy if there were one or two to say these are the top two, but I think there are a couple I'll try and come to them. First, I think is in B2B, and that's something that differentiates us from the B2C is who is the customer and who is the end user. So the buyer today could be a CIO or a CTO or a CMO. I'm just giving an example of, let's say we give an office connectivity services product that is closer to the industry and the company that I work in. While the buyer could be a CIO or a CTO, the end users are the employees who are actually experiencing your network or your product, be it in offices or wherever remotely they're working from. And hence, I think to design your product or service, keeping both these personas in mind is one of the key points, or I would say an opportunity. If you don't look at it as an opportunity, it is a challenge, because most of the time we spend designing the journeys, sales experience, etc. for the buyer, but the end users are actually the ones who are probably also influencing how you continue your service with the customer. So I think that's the first one. Second one, which I'm an ardent believer, is about the culture. I mean, in terms of have you really ingrained customer experience, embedded it in the way you design your product, and not just leave customer experience as an afterthought. For example, I think most of us treat experience as something that it starts after purchase, and maybe it ends once the issue is resolved. Actually, neither of it is true. It actually holds true even right from the point that the customer has thought about it or has a latent need and is considering to put a solution to it. And in B2B, I think it's always said that I think 60% of the decision is done actually by the time even an RFP is released. And hence, I think one of the key challenges for a marketer in B2B is to how do you be in the state of consideration even before customers decide to come to you. So, and hence, I think the experience is not just about the purchase, even pre-purchase, the way you engage with them, the way your brand is coming across in the market. So, I would think that part of treating it as a central to the winning part of the strategy, I think is important. And third, in B2B, like I think you're drawing a spectrum of customers when you said it, that I think all the way from SMEs and SOHOs to startups to large and mid enterprises, it's a huge spectrum. And B2B, typically, I think one of the pitfalls, I think, is to treat it as one segment, but actually there are sub-segments, there are micro-segments, different buying behaviors, different service expectations, different definitely to different channels. And keeping aside the pricing and the product features that you tend to tailor. And hence, I think that's the third key point, is to kind of use the segmentation of marketing or sales into experience design as well. How you communicate, how you explain the product benefit is also important, and how you actually deliver digital experiences is also quite fundamental to tiding over some of the challenges. And the last, I think, is it's something that I've learned it over experiences. While we design a lot of products in B2B, a lot of us actually kind of sign off saying actually these are solutions and these are bespoke in nature, especially when it comes to large corporates where there's a lot of customization that comes in. To me, it is not a challenge, because the way to look at it as a challenge, I think, is not everything is actually a solution, and very little could be done at a product layer. But actually, I would flip it and say that a solution or a bespoke nature of it means that actually there's a lot of personalization and tailoring that you could bring in. And hence your experience is a great opportunity for an experienced designer to make it a true personalized experience. So I think these are the three to four challenges that I think I've come across in my experience, where they seem to come across as challenges, but in fact, I think there are opportunities.
Completely. All the challenges are definitely going to be opportunities. And when we talk about the journey from reaching out, positioning, introspecting, then giving that experience, it's kind of journey that we go through. So in the journey, how do you measure the success of customer experience initiatives in the context of marketing performance?
Yeah. So CX to me, for a long while, I think was measured against, but obviously when you optimize experience and have you taken off the cost to serve, have you optimized it? That is truly one of the metrics that impacts on a business level. But you asked a question on how does it make a dent, or what are the metrics in marketing that actually experience really makes it in. To my mind, Raghavendra, I think there are top two, and I would keep it at two, simple and probably direct. One is, are your customers advocating your brand and your product and service? And it's simply measured using the lifetime value of the customer. So the more advocates there are, I think the more is the lifetime value of this customer, which means lesser is the churn, which means that the propensity to buy one more product of yours is actually all the more better. And hence your revenue realization per customer or from the loyal customers is actually higher than the normal regular customers. And hence I think simple metric is customer lifetime value, which translates to the top line. And this is a shift that I think marketers need to make, treating customer experience not just as a cost or a hygiene to have, but actually as a revenue driver. And second, which is closer to the marketer's heart, is actually the brand. And a net promoter score is actually a good representation of, is your customer advocating? Are they recommending, are they willing to recommend your product and service or your company or a brand to friends, family, and others? That to me is a great measure to say a satisfied or a delighted customer, how he or she is actually advocating for your brand. I would think that measure these two, and I think most of the initiatives and the investments that we make in CX could be translated directly to the business impact.
Completely agree with you. The point you mentioned that it should be revenue driven and it should associate with revenue. It helps in the next score will also help you reaching out how your brand is performing. And once you're resilient, then obviously all your customers will refer you. And in turn, they also spend a lot of time with you and engage with you going forward. And definitely that helps in realizing the revenue. The other thing that always I think about, there's a huge rise of digital channels. And everyone talks about digital nowadays. And during pandemic, it taken a different shape altogether. So how do B2B marketers adopt their marketing strategies to ensure a seamless and positive customer experience?
Rajendra, I think you quite nicely touched a pivotal point in the last 3-4 years, which is the pandemic. So prior to that, I do a time shift of what I thought was the place of whole customer engagement and how do these touch points really play a role. In my mind, I think they were largely, depending on the type of customer you are or the type of relationship you have, it was a low touch customer engagement. It could be sales, service, it could be even marketing, or it was high touch, where you're actually meeting them in intimate boardroom or a round table, or have a relationship manager or a sales account management, which is really dedicated. So there were two ends of the spectrum. But during pandemic, like you alluded, I think digital has come to the forefront by virtue of, I think there was no other choice. And for a long while, I thought, I think digital is going to take over the entire engagement spectrum. But I think now the whole uh, engagement models have actually settled down into, I would say, low touch, digital touch, uh, high touch, and hybrid touch. So I think there are certain transactions or certain moments in the customer's journey. Let's take an example: post purchase, you want to probably do collections or payment. I think completely digital. Some low value requests or low ticket edition product purchases, SKUs, digital. But a complex requirement to be discussed, a complex solution to be worked out requires face to face. And in some cases, I think some of the innovation workshops that I've seen, which became hybrid for a while, are coming back to being face to face. So I think across your product and service journeys that we have built, you need to categorize, or it has come to really to be established that I think there are certain moments that can actually be digital and low touch, but there are certain moments that got to be factored in as a hybrid touch or a high touch. So I think I've seen that change, and because of that, what it meant, I think, is the number of channels that you are making yourself available to the customer have increased. And it raises to another challenge as to, are you being consistent across these channels in the way you engage, the way you communicate to the customer, and the way your brand is getting portrayed. So I think there's a new challenge that has come about. But I think, like you said, I think the spectrum of engagement models and channels is now probably, in my view, settled.
The way you questioned it is like the high touch and the hybrid touch is the 2 points that's catching my attention now. So when you talk about this, and with the recent developments, maybe post-pandemic, and recently from past 1 year, we've been talking about new technologies, new trends, like AI, ML, analytics, so on and so forth. So in your view, how does the integration of technologies, the new technologies such as AI, analytics, contributing to customer experience in the marketing domain?
Ravindra, I think you remind me of a quote, and I have to borrow it from Steve Jobs, whom I admire a bit. Is, I think, you always start with customer experience first and work your way back to the technology and not the other way. So here, if you keep customer experience as the first thought and say, how do I leverage the new tools and digital technologies that have really come to be available? It is about AI, generative AI. I think there's a significant opportunity for marketers to actually make a big leap in the customer experience, all the way from creative automation and cutting down the time it takes to actually create and render personalized communication across digital channels or across physical channels, etc. The time it takes and the cost it takes to create and make it available to the customers is actually significantly better. Second, it is a great opportunity of the big data, right? I think we are now talking about a time in the business era where first-party data is probably the holy grail. Third-party data is pretty much dead. Now you're talking about really rich data, and you need to earn the kind of richness that you really are craving for. And let's assume you have that data in big volumes. What can you do with it? Beyond actually the traditional marketing campaigns, etc., is an opportunity that I think we should capitalize on. It is experience segmentation. Now, customers are indicating to you that certain channels is where they'd like to be most communicated on. For example, I think WhatsApp for me is good enough. I don't really look at emails as regularly as I used to. Or SMS is not something I prefer. Notifications is not something I like, etc. So through the virtue of experiences that the footprint of experiences that I have on your product or your service is giving you rich intelligence as to can you segment the customers based on the experience that they are liking and they desire. A good example is, this is something that we've done some pilot on. We normally send communication. I'm just giving an example of bill payment, multiple channels, SMS, WhatsApp, email. But I think there are certain customers who are saying, I'll respond to you much better if you send it to me on channel A versus channel B. And that's also their preference. And you're respecting that preference. Second, as a marketer, you're also thinking the impact of communicating on that channel is higher because your CTA rates are higher. And hence, I think the power of these technologies is to be able to do this personalization at scale and on the fly. That's the beauty of this. You're able to integrate that into your real-time campaign engines and all other MarTech stack. And that's really the power that I think we need to leverage from these technologies that are at our disposal now.
Completely. With the power of this new technologies, tools like AI and data, we know the person where actually is spending his time, which are the channels he is glued to it, which is the channel is spending more time on it. So with that, it also helps us to giving more personalized and focused targeting messaging.
Absolutely.
So in this personalization, focused targeting messaging, and how to balance the personalization marketing with customer privacy concerns, especially in enterprise.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's a sensitive segment as well, right? I think you're not talking about C-suite customers in B2B who'd like to have these conversations not in a public manner like the consumers normally do. And hence, I think it's little, I would say the challenge is slightly different from a B2B to B2C. And quite right for you to ask on B2B because these are long relationships that you have built over time, or some of them you want to forge new relationships. And hence, I think without the digital protection law that we have, I think we have that in place today in the country. In B2B, I think a consent-driven approach has probably been always at the forefront, and I've not seen too many rogue practices in B2B. And I think as a brand, one needs to be not falling into the trap of buying databases, which used to be pretty much the norm a couple of years ago or a decade ago, because these are not really your first-party data. And if you are talking about B2B customers, you've got to be keeping that privacy at the heart of how you're engaging with the customer. And I give you an example, right? And SME is a market, give or take 63 million SMEs in the country, micro, small, medium, big size. And there are tons of databases available. Everybody's promising the holy grail. I mean, on one hand, I think your bounce rates are very high and probably the data is not good enough. But on the other hand, actually, you don't know where this consent was taken and for what purpose. Now, the onus is upon a brand, and I'll give you an example of how we dealt with it at V Business, is for the same SME segment, we said, okay, we would like to offer you a value of digital advisory service for free. You measure yourself using a bit of a questionnaire, an elegant questionnaire tailored to your industry, tailored to the company, the kind of company you are, the size you are, and you get an advisory of where you are on the digital maturity scale. Now, that's, in my view, a good vehicle to then understand the customer better, get his or her details with absolute consent in place, and then build your sales and channel engagement. And I think some of these are an example of how you build good marketing practices, especially for the B2B, keeping all the way the laws have evolved or the way the brands are getting beaten, rather I would say losing trust whenever you adopt some good practice. So I think there are ways, but it requires a bit of hard work, and I think that's what I would urge the brands to do.
Yeah, and also not only the hard work, and it also involves many people interaction, and one person to private. So the pool of employees of the different departments has to come together and deliver that experience so that we know that customers. So what roles does employee training and engagement play in delivering consistent and high quality customer experience?
That's closest to my heart, Ravindra. You asked a question on employee and how the employee experience translates to great customer experience. I think if you put it on a mathematical equation, it's straightforward. EX drives CX. Simple correlation. Even with the power of AI, etc., I think you are able to improve employee experience and engagement. It translates straight into better customer experience and engagement. Beyond, I mean, I would say the first block obviously is instilling a common understanding of what does customer experience stand for your brand, your company. How have you defined it? Because each company is in a different category, different type of customer segments that they deal with. Let's assume we get that down on a scale. The second challenge is, or rather the task to do, or the job to be done is actually building empathy, the customer empathy at scale. Now, this is not about, I think, only the frontline employees who deal with consumers or customers, be it you're a sales rep or a service account management, etc. They're not the only folks who got to be having empathy. Every employee, even if you're a support function, how do you build customer empathy? And that to me requires two other foundational blocks. For example, practices of actively listening into the voice of customer, taking feedback from your frontline, which I call it as a voice of employee, because they are actually the representatives of customer, and respecting that feedback and working on whether you're making a change in the process or system, or there could be a lot of potential to improve the people area where there are human errors and dealing with customers. So I think VOC and DOE are practices that you need to be building on. And last, I would say is drink your own champagne. For example, I think most of the time we build products and think we have got it right, experience, but have you experienced your own products before you're asking customers to buy and trust you? So building that engine is equally important. And hence it turns the employees into empathizers of customer. You actually solve problems before customers could highlight to you. And thereby, I think you are translating that into a better customer experience. I know there are few other more interesting practices, Raghavendra. I think I just mentioned in brief, in the interest of time. I think symbolic initiatives. I've seen companies which reserve a separate chair in the meetings for customers, and these are actually empty chairs, and that's the voice of customer. Some of them actually have physical, I would say, step into the shoes of customers, a physical room to go and experience it. And they can be minimal. I'm sure you talk to few more companies, you get a lot more good practices. And hence, I think creating that employee playbook, which you referred to, is very important.
Really, the shaking shape very well. Different companies employ different strategies to keep the customer's experience at the highest level. And all the customer experiences will finally leads into the feedback. What after giving so much of customer experience, after having given that experience to the elite customers, what is the feedback that we are receiving? That also helps us to how do you manage the further conversations? So how do you handle the customer feedback and use it to iterate or improve the marketing strategies?
Running, I think I would probably split into two parts. The first part, I think, is the moment you have a customer feedback. It could be a suggestion, or it could be an improvement that they've recommended, or a resolution that they're seeking. So first and foremost, I think you alluded to cross-functional. It requires more teams to come together to solve or improve. I think you do that first. You close loop that resolution or the improvement that you come across from a customer, and go back to the customer and tell him or her that I think we either have resolved the situation or taken your feedback and improved it. So I think that goes a long way in customers really believing that you take it really seriously. And I think someone like Bill Gates said, the biggest source of learning is your dissatisfied customers. So, and the very fact that they've taken time to even give you feedback itself is worthy of being respected. Second, I think is while you solve these incidents, small little feedback, wins, etc., that the customers are sharing, you really got to create an active program around it, saying what am I learning from these closed loop or the feedback that have come back from customers. So building the practice of using it to resolve some systemic problems, could be a process-related problem, or could be something which you require a technological intervention. I think creating a program of that nature is important. And I'll just give you an example from my own company. We have, there are certain escalations that come to a specific touch point, and that really is a high-touch touch point. And we actually created a program to review what are we learning from it, and what are the fixes, and what are your controllables, and what are your non-controllables. Now, coming specifically to the marketing, which was your question, I think you really look at from point of view of, have I communicated adequately for the customer to have understood it first time? Maybe not, and hence I think there's a clarification. So you please work on your communication pillar of how you're communicating your product, feature, aspects of how to use. Second, I think is if there is a fundamental flaw in the design of product, it could be in areas where when you launched it, you probably thought this is how it should be, but customers, they're giving you strong feedback. So you go back to a little bit of a drawing board and say, I've got to make this design change in the product. From a marketer's perspective, I think these two, keeping aside the others, which are probably cross-functional, purely from marketing, I think you look at brand communication and you look at, are there some fundamental changes you want to bring in product?
Well, that's from, if you look at the customer experience journey from filler to post, there are multiple people involved in it. There are different groups with different departments involved in it to ensure that customer is happy. And in the process, there are multiple touch points, either from the customer side or from the business side. So how do you ensure a customer-centric approach across various touch points in enterprise?
Yeah, it's a tough question though. I think I'll just give an example of my own company. We have across both the consumer segments, B2C and B2B, we have 20 plus channels, and some of them are human channels, some of them are digital. It includes chatbot, app, and the other channels like I think email, etc., and call center. Like you said, I think the journey of any company when you're coming to multiple channels start thought processing. We have to be in multiple channels. That's where at some point you've got to make a shift saying it is an omni channel. By definition of omni, you mean I need to think of these channels as from one channel to another as the customer gets transferred or a warm transfer, the context needs to be carried forward, and you're reducing pain of the customer not to repeat the same issue. Second, I think is by omni-channel, it also doesn't mean you as a brand or a product or a company start designing all the journeys uniformly. So it's not really required to build your entire journey in WhatsApp because the customer is preferring WhatsApp. So you got to tailor it to the medium. For example, I think you want to give product information, it takes an email to really do it better. Please do it on email. Please don't dump this information on WhatsApp because it is just too laborious to be. So I think in my view, the omni-channel view of touch points and how you design this is actually a design problem rather than an execution problem. So the moment you design it right, saying these are the journeys that I'm putting in channel A and channel B, the next point obviously is how do you ensure consistency in the experience of these channels. And that's where having a brand stroke 6 playbook is important, right? I think the tonality of how you greet a customer, be it a bot or be it a call center agent, or how you write, how you greet is really important. How you personalize in channel, all the channels uniformly is another question to ask. And I think there are certain of these guiding principles that you got to live by design so that you're getting the omni-channel journey right. Some of it is legacy channels, perfectly understandable, but you go and make changes across those as well. So, and it takes a lot of beyond the systemic interventions. I think the people is the unique aspect of how you train them and reinforce the CXX principles. And I think sometimes that's where a lot of slips happen, and you got to be factoring for the human error or the human slip, and to say that I got to have a continuous improvement measure. Because every touch point, like you were alluding to, is a moment of truth, and your brand is getting experience, or product is getting experience. As a marketer, you should be losing sleep or suboptimal experiences across channels.
Yeah, completely agree with you. The customer experience, we did the center stage in 2024 and beyond. And before we come to the interest of time, can you share some insights on how to leverage customer journey mapping to enhance marketing strategies and overall customer experience or customer satisfaction?
So customer journey, like you said, I think is really makes one thing broad and deep as well. The moment you said journey, you're right, it clearly is a journey for the customer, even before he or she is a customer. Could be a prospect who is actually trying to consider you or thinking about coming to you. And hence mapping that life cycle, like we typically do in product life cycle management, is important. So how is customer exploring to how is one is buying, how is one using, servicing, supporting, or even leaving your product or service. Even that is a stage where you think you got to be getting it right. And hence I think in my experience, having a good framework of CX, and there's no one framework for all companies, but you can quite logically build one, is to build a framework which captures all the journey stages and captures each moment of truth. The way a customer gets a proposal or the way the customer receives a bill or a reminder. So all these are moments of truth across the life cycle stages that got to be mapped. And you got to be asking the question, so am I consistent? What is the experience that I'm designing for? And do I have a buy-in of all the cross-functional teams? Having said that, clearly, I think, Ravindra, you and I clearly know that customers are no longer buying linearly. So they're not really going to, I explore today and I'll get your sales rep in. I think they are taking decisions quite in shorter spans of time. And these are called them the non-linear journeys. So they probably might be researching for you in a Gartner conference and trying to place an order on your website without really a sales guy in between. So you got to be watching out for that, because while you design a framework, have you accounted for some of these non-linear journey moments that you got to be prepared and designed for? So I would say that I think having framework is good. It's a good first step, but really understanding the way the trends are moving with respect to customer buying behaviors, post-purchase preferences is super important to be really on top of your game.
So understanding buying behavior and across multiple touch points, thinking about it is very, very important.
True.
Thank you, Govindaraj. As we come to an end of our Marketing Mondays chat, I would like to thank you for your time and sharing your insights and experience with us. And I hope our audience will enjoy this conversation. Thank you very much. Thank you. Once again.
Pleasure is mine, equally mine as well. Thank you for a probing set of discussion that we've had. Thank you.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.